Hello, everyone. If you're new to my channel, my name is Shy. I am a multifaceted ambivert who is being guided to deliver messages that will help the ones who need it. So, I've been told to share my story, and I'm not going to get into details tonight. Maybe I'll leave that for another video. But what I will say is that healing trauma is something that a lot of people talk about, but not many explain, right? It's not just, oh, let it go. Oh, you need to let it go. You need to heal. It's not like that at all. Anyone who has been through real trauma understands that it is not that easy. I recently, within the last 24 hours, realized that I still had trauma surrounding something that happened over 15 years ago. Something that I had convinced myself that I was over, right? Because I picked up my life, I moved on, I was resilient, I did all the things that I was supposed to do to keep it pushing. And that served me at the time. What serves me now is understanding why it hurt me so much. Understanding why I was so sensitive to the situation that I wanted to bury it and never look back. It's like the ostrich putting their head in the sand, right? What I see now that I didn't see then is that that situation prepared me for what I'm going through now. That situation prepared me to deal with all the things that I've had to deal with in my life. That was the starting point. And if I didn't learn those lessons, I would not have been able to prevail the way that I am now. Let me tell you something. I am a survivor, okay? I am a resilient person who has never let things get me down for long. And if it did, it was not to my benefit and things got ugly. Anxiety, depression, all the things. What they don't tell you is therapy is not for everybody. Full disclaimer, if you need a therapist, if you need a psychiatrist, if you need actual help, I highly suggest that you get that help, right? At one point, I needed a psychiatrist. At one point, I needed a therapist. And it was all because of the trauma, okay? I got to a point where I was able to put that down so that I could pick up something else. I used those services as long as I needed them. And when they no longer served me, I let them go. There is nothing wrong with therapy. What there is something wrong with is throwing things under a rug, thinking that you're not going to trip eventually. And that is exactly what I did. I'm not here talking to you because I'm bored and I have nothing better to do at 12:12 in the morning. I am here talking to you because I have lived it firsthand. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I have had narcissistic parents. All the things, bro. Like, this is not a game, okay? The biggest tip that I could give anyone is to learn thyself. Learn to understand who you are, what you're capable of, and what you have not been facing. Let me repeat. What you have not been facing. Because we say, oh, well, I let it go. Oh, well, that doesn't bother me anymore. Oh, well, I healed. So let me ask you, when you talk about said event, pick one, whichever one you want. When you talk about that event, do you get upset? When you talk about that event, are you being judgmental? Are you holding space for yourself in that situation? If you are not, then you have not healed. Eventually, you will understand that in order to heal, you have to go through it. You can't go around it. You can't go above it. You can't go underneath it. The only thing you can do is go through it. Until you deal with the trauma, until you deal with the underlying feelings of said issue, you will not be able to fully move on with your life. I'm speaking from experience. I got married at a very young age. I left my husband. We were supposed to reconcile, and once he got his stuff together, he was alcoholic, he was drug addict, all these things. The plan was to reconcile. I moved to another state in order to save my life and was completely abandoned. I moved back home 12 years ago to my home city. And upon moving back home, I ran into my husband. This was 12 years ago, and I still haven't received a divorce. Why? Because I was coerced into believing that we could work it out. Why? Because I still had an underlining trauma to this particular event, meaning I allowed certain things to happen because I was still in it mentally. He had done a job on me mentally, but so had I. I hadn't accepted the fact that my marriage was over. I was still trying to fight for something that was never going to work. I put myself through that, right? In the hopes that, air quotes, in the hopes that we could reconcile. Because I did not want to admit to myself that it was over. Why? Because I felt like if my marriage was over, that I was a failure. See how that works? Just keep asking why. Why did I think that I was a failure if my marriage came to an end? Because I was raised in a way where divorce was frowned upon, right? I was raised to believe that if I got a divorce, that I was not going to be accepted. Why did I believe that? Why? I believed that because I wanted to be loved. I believed that and fed into the BS because I desperately wanted my marriage. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a supportive, loving, comforting spouse. That's what I wanted. Fortunately for me, those things are going to come. But I had to walk through the fire first. I had to figure out what I didn't want first. And I just dragged it on and let it drag itself out and listen to all the lies and the gaslighting and the narcissism and the mental abuse and the coercion and all the things. Not because there's something wrong with me, but because I wanted to do what I thought was the right thing. Sometimes it's not the end destination, it is the journey. This has been a hard journey that I have had to go through, but it taught me all the lessons that I need to move forward in my life now. Sometimes when you have a calling over your life and you get deterred, it takes trauma or an extreme catalyst to get you back on your path. At the time, I looked at it like I done lost my baby. I done lost my husband. I done lost my marriage. I done lost my home. I done lost my family and my friends. Not understanding that those things and those people were being cleared out of my life for a reason. Sometimes you don't see the reason until the end, and that is okay. Just know that whatever you're going through, you need to figure out the underlying cause, the underlying feeling, the underlying emotion, and deal with that. Because if you don't deal with that, it's gonna bite you. It bit me last night. I was up at like 3:30 in the morning, bawling my eyes out because I thought that I had healed. I thought that I was over it. I thought all of these things, and yeah, that sounded great. Yeah, it served me at the time to be able to detach from the situation, but it doesn't serve me now. And what we need to understand is that when something doesn't serve you, you need to put it down. When something is no longer being a benefit, if it is no longer an asset, you need to put it down. It ain't let it go. You can't just let it go sometimes. You gotta deal with it. I'm saying all of these things out of experience, out of love, because I see so many people on a daily basis that are angry, that are sad, that are vengeful, that are all of these things, but they're really just hurt. They're hurt because something didn't work out the way that they thought it would. And instead of just understanding that not right now doesn't mean not at all, they hold on. They hold on to that thing that is no longer serving them. And then they cry about how it's not serving them. Oh, and I'm talking to myself too. Trust and believe me, I done been there, right? But that's why my life has been what it has been, because I am supposed to be here to help people not have to go through the same thing. So, to reflect back on what I just said, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if you're over it. Journal if you have to. Pick an event that harmed you in some way, that you have let go or healed, and see how you feel about it. See what emotions come up. If it's sadness, if it's anger, if it's vengeful, vindictive, if it's any of those lower vibrations, sit with it. Sit with it. Cry it out. Scream it out at the top of your lungs. Get a pillow if you have kids, because I have kids, and I be in my room screaming in my pillow if I need to, okay? But let it out, because holding on to it is no longer serving you. Let it out in order to let it go. You can't get one without the other. It's yin and yang. You have the good and you have the bad in every situation. And it's all about how you look at it. How you looked at it then served you then. It doesn't serve you now. And if it no longer serves you, you need to change something about it. In order to change it, you need to turn your pain into power. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive them, not for them, but for you. I promise you, if you do the work, it will work. It'll happen. Trust it. And when it does, come back and let me know that you have been able to alchemize your pain into power. Okay? You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. I believe in you, even though you may not believe in yourself. Even though those people around you may not believe in you. Even though the naysayers don't believe in you. I believe in you. I want the best for you. And in order for you to have the best life that you can possibly have, you have to let it out. Love you much.